Oh, seems like ages ago since we ran that opening title.
Shall we have another go?
Yeah, so another go. Sorry about that, folks. A little bit of a technical hiccup there, but we're back. Right, okay. So Zvezda doing brand new Yak 9 in 72nd scale 48. They're doing other variants of the Sturmovik. They're doing the modern day Sturmovik, I suppose, the Frogfoot, and another variant of the Mil 24
and the Hercules.
And a Hercules, which isn't a snap together kit; it's a standard kit. So right, that's that bit of catch up. I know. Also, well, let's throw this into the mix as well, because I'm just going to bring the screen up as well, because this has been teased in the last couple of days or so. I'm just calling it up. Here we go. Is what do we make of this? So. Well, that's a pretty big.
Indeed.
From the home team, we have no idea of the scale. I think we can generally say it's not going to be a reissue.
Well, they're not going to make that much of a splash about a reissue, are they? I wouldn't think.
No, I don't think they would do that. So it would appear that the home team, the old Airfix, are teasing what appears to be a brand new E-type Jag, brand new tooling, not a rebox of anybody else's. It's a brand, but that's all we know. All we know is they've splashed that on their YouTube page.
We know what you've seen.
Yeah, well, you know as much as we know. So, I
mean, you know, if it follows tradition, they do 30-second scale, don't they?
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. If they follow tradition, they've traditionally done 30-second scale and a couple of really. I mean, it will be. Can you imagine if it was one of the large?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm making suppositions, John. I'm just, you know, no, we don't know, but it doesn't. That's half the fun of talking about it, isn't it?
And the thing is, I genuinely don't know. I genuinely do not know about this one. So, but there we go. There we go. That's something to throw into the mix for people to talk about tonight, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's a glorious car, isn't it?
Oh, it's just the best looking car ever in the history.
I have seen it described as the most beautiful car ever made. Full stop. Yep. End of story.
Yep.
It doesn't, you know, and it's difficult to whenever you see one, you do tend to go, oh. So
well, if you remember, somebody a couple of years ago started doing these kind of new build ones.
Right.
Seeing that, they might have been on Top Gear and whatever, and I remember seeing that and thinking, "Oh, that looks nice." Yeah, if you got like £500,000.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? Which would be cheap compared to what buying one new would be like these days. You know, buying an original.
Anyway, so for all those people who keep complaining that Airfix don't do cars, it appears they are doing a new car next year. So
yeah, it's very interesting.
Anyway, well, as I say, it feels like ages since I last saw you, but it was in fact only yesterday.
Yesterday, yes.
Only yesterday. We were in that there Glastonbury, and we went to see the good folk at Jadlam, and we did a little short live whilst we were there. But suffice to say, I think the pair of us, and we're not, you know, we tend to be, you know, old cynics in our.
We're a bit hard-boiled, aren't we?
We're a bit hard-boiled. We are. I think it's fair to say that when we were having luncheon afterwards, we were still absolutely blown away by the scale, if you pardon the pun, the scale of the operation there.
It was, yeah, it's truly, you know, what we're looking at there is a tiny portion of it.
Yep.
It was just truly mind-boggling, the actual the whole operation, and you know, many thanks to Russ for showing us around the entire operation.
Yes, thank you, Russ.
Going there, because it was just a real eye opener for myself and John. I think we genuinely hadn't expected that.
No, I mean, what you got in that picture is, I mean, that's just a fraction of the floor space, and that's the model kit area as it stands at the moment. There's also just behind there's the model railway, and then there's the scale extricts and some of the other things they do, the kind of the hobby and the gift side of things. But I think it's fair to say that Russ described this as just being like a phase 1 opening, just to get their feet, find out what the customer response is, and then move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, what we're looking at there in that photo is about half of the current retail space.
Yeah,
and all of the retail space is about a quarter of the total footprint of the whole operation.
Yeah, but we were also given a look behind the scenes as well of just their warehousing and their dispatch operation. And again, it sort of reminded me of the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, when we talk about sort of online retailers and hobby shops, we have a tendency to think of small operations and, you know, people sitting at a little, you know, IKEA desk wrapping models and posting them out. And this was, the entire operation here was very, very much more akin to something like you'd see in videos of, say, Argos or Amazon, and I mean that in the best possible way, in that they're, you know, it's a very, very precise, regimented operation. There's pickers, there's packing stations, all that sort of stuff. It was just, it was truly eye-opening to see how they were, you know, how that operation is run.
Yeah. And you know, we kind of like, we had a look around the packing and dispatch area, which was kind of like, you know, again, very impressive in terms of just the scale of the operation, but also just the efficiency and the professionalism of it. You know, you had stations set up with, you know, with all the packaging materials ready to go. They have the packaging, the posting, you know, the postage labels come down. It really is.
The thing that struck me was there's a high degree of automation there from the point where the order is sort of input and scanned and stuff. It starts a process off to get that order safely packaged and out the door. Yeah. In the shortest possible time, and the best kind of packaging and the most accurate way they can possibly do it. It was it was so hugely impressive to see.
Yeah. No, so we're, like I say, very grateful to Russ for taking the time out to give us a look round. We hope, you know, we certainly are very interested in doing some stuff with them in the new year, and I think we're looking at doing a day of kind of live demos from their, you know, from the store in Glastonbury. Yeah, it's. I think the other thing that we had a look at is that they don't price stuff up in the shop, and it's a newish system that they're trying out, whereby when you go in there, you go to their website and download their retail app, and then you use your smartphone to scan the barcodes, or you search on the website for it, and then that gives you the price. Now, the reason why they're doing this is, first of all, it saves having to go around with a price gun, you know, going clickety-clack and pricing everything up. But as they said, it also then means that they've got the what's the word I'm looking for? They've got the flexibility to actually offer the best price possible. So if if somebody somewhere else is suddenly kind of like putting an offer on something, potentially their system software and their algorithms will pick that up and they can match it in store.
It was very much. I mean,
live pricing is a good way of putting it.
I think the way I put it was an agile pricing model.
Yeah.
Where they can, they can quickly, they can quickly adjust stuff to match offers and stuff. And I mean, we did have a considerable discussion with Russ on how we cope with people who don't deal with technology, and that's all been thought out ahead of time as well. And they're looking at ways to address that for people who don't want to use an app on a smartphone and stuff. They're looking at ways where they can still do this competitive agile pricing model, but not alienate people who don't deal with technology. It was massively impressive, and it's also worth noting that probably by the time many people who are watching this would visit Jadlam, the actual retail location, it's going to look completely different to this based on the plans going forward. This is beta, isn't it? This is the beta model.
Yeah, this is absolutely, yeah. Mike Williams says, use Jadlam a lot, great price and customer service, excellent communication too, and J points. Indeed, you do get loyalty points. I believe you racked some loyalty points up yesterday.
I did. I spent some money yesterday. I did, it was. I'm surprised you didn't, to be honest. But it was. There's just so much there. It would be difficult to leave without buying something, put it that way.
Yeah. What did you pick up? Tell the ladies and gentlemen what you picked up.
Well, I picked up one of the Great Wall Hobby 72nd scale F15s. I've been looking for one of the single seaters for quite a while. I wanted the US Air Force one, but that seems to be unobtainium at the moment. So I picked up an F15J, but looking at it when I got it home, it's got all the parts in it for an F15C as well. So I can still do a Lake and Heath Grim Reapers C from that model with very few changes. So it was you can't, the superlatives kind of fail you in terms of just looking at the whole operation and how well organized it is. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I should be going back there very, very soon, as I said to Russ yesterday, because I think Russ was quite keen for us to see it when it was actually. We went on a Saturday when they they do work the mail order side on a Saturday, but it had all sort of more or less closed down after lunch by the time we got there. I think Russ said he was quite keen for us to see how it looks when it's all guns blazing on a weekday morning or something like that. So I said that in the next couple of weeks I hope to get out there one morning and see it again. See it.
I think there is the very real possibility that we'll be back there in the new year, in the very, very early new year.
Absolutely.
Pandemic permitting, of course. But yeah, it's. For those who don't know Glastonbury, it's on the main one of the main road through Glastonbury out towards the Clark's Village at Street. You just come off the roundabout and then take the first turning. There's huge car park there. It's modern day. At a time when you think bricks and mortar has there was always like worry about it. This is kind of taking it to a different.
It's been completely thought out in terms of the location and everything as well. There are reasons why it's in the location it is, and things like that. And I think at some point I would like to, if Russ is agreeable, actually chat to him about the history of the company and where Jadlam have come from, because that was a terrific. Yeah. That was a story in its own right. I thought that was a really, really interesting story on where Jadlam racing models has come from. Yeah, and I'd like to have a chat about that with him, and
I'm sure we can get Russ on the show and we'll talk about that in the new year sometime. But we are extraordinarily blessed here in our little soggy corner of this miserable little aisle in terms of we've got we've got Jadlam, we've got Antics in Bristol, we've got Through Model Centre, we've also got there's that very fine little model shop in Minehead. We've got Premium Hobbies who are online. They're based in Weston-super-Mare. I'm beginning to think that the West Country is starting to turn into the modelling epicenter of the United Kingdom.
It's a bit of a modelling mecca these days, isn't it? I mean, I always judged, I always tend to think because the last decent or model shop full stop in my little town disappeared nearly 30 years ago, that it's a bit of a wasteland. But when you think, it took me 20-25 minutes to drive to Jadlam yesterday. It's a quick afternoon jolly out for me. Froome isn't that far. And all right, for me, Andy's a little bit further at Antics, but he's just over the road for you, more or less.
And actually, if we count the Tank Museum shop as well, because that's a very good model shop in its own right.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, right, okay. What's
Boris done now?
Let's move on. You got me checking my news headlines now. It's just right, okay. Yeah, fantastic. We'll come back to Glastonbury a bit later on because we've got some more picks from Aladea.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think you're right in that this part of the country is turning into a very, very decent area for those of us that might like to pop out for tea cake and a bit of model shopping.
Absolutely right. Let's crack on. We will talk about some stuff that's been announced during the week. And first on the list is Zvezda, who, and I've just lost my notes, so they're very professional tonight. Goodness me, if the live stream isn't breaking down, then I had my notes up on the screen here and they've disappeared. So this is Zvezda's new 1/35th scale Russian tractor, which I'm just calling up the notes again. Oh, Lordy. I want to get the name right, you see. So it is, here we go. It is their STZ-5 Soviet artillery tractor. Right, we got there in the end. Well, let's put it this way. Shall I tell you what I like about this?
Go on.
Everything, right? Everything about this I like. It reminds me of the American tractors that are based around the M3 chassis, but also
what I like about that.
Gone.
Everything. I think that's glorious. I think that's.
It reminds me also of the Ralph and Schlechter Ost, the Steyr Ralph and Schlechter Ost, which is again a fabulous little vehicle. I'm instantly looking at this and thinking this is just going to be. There's no part of this that if you invest time in painting and weathering is not going to be lost because everything is on show. The interior, the flatbed, the tracks, the chassis, everything. It's a weatherer's delight because these vehicles were tended to be used in quite robust conditions. I think it's a good way of putting it.
I would say it's also a bit of a challenge as well because the majority of that track is completely on display.
Yep.
There's nothing hidden there of the track for the most part. I know you probably shouldn't say it about war machines, but that's cute.
It is. It
looks like one of those little Japanese mini cars.
I was going to say it looks like a track version of a Riley Elf.
Yeah,
or a Wolsey Hornet. One of the two.
I think that's adorable.
I can't wait for this to come out because this just ticks all the boxes when it comes to armor stuff for me. I just think it's, again, this is Zvezda knowing their home market. They're going to sell bucket loads of these.
I mean, I don't know anything about this vehicle. Is it one of those limited? Did the Russians seem to go through these sorts of things where they built 200 of them or 250 million of them?
Right, it's the STZ-5. I'm just Wikipediaing it for us now. It was built between 1937 and 1942. Over 9,900 were built. It was the most produced Soviet military tractor during the war.
Excellent.
And
plenty.
Also, it was also used as the basis for a BM-13/BM-13-16 rocket launcher. So essentially, it's like a Katyusha. There were Katyusha versions of this as well. But yeah, I just, as soon as I saw this, I literally, big smile on my face, because I thought, yep,
that's
this,
really nice.
that Lafley V15, which is coming out soon, which I should be grabbing probably from Andy in Bristol. That and this, they're just those kind of like oddball little military vehicles that I think are fabulous.
Fabulous.
I like
that. I doubt I will build one myself, but I could.
No.
I could see it being something I would like to build. But
trust me. I doubt you're going to build one as well. So
no, I doubt I will. No, that's one I could see me buying, John. Is what I'm saying.
That's fair enough. Yes. So lovely stuff. Yeah, Zvezda 35th scale STZ-5 Soviet artillery tractor. Yeah, that's a big thumbs up from us. Moving on, kind of like something new, but something not quite so new, and that is Micromir, as part of their AMP range, are bringing out a 72nd scale Canberra B2, but this, by all accounts, from what we understand, is actually a repop of the unfortunately named S&M kit.
Yeah, I'm seeing some stuff elsewhere about various assorted retoolings that have been done on this and stuff like that, and it appears that fuselage and wings are both all new.
Right.
I would have thought it would, to me, it would have been a redecal job, but apparently there's enough differences. The original wings on the kit weren't as accurate as they could be by all accounts, so they've retooled those. And the fuselage is different enough between a B2 and a B6 for it to be all new, in terms of just panel detail and stuff. So it's definitely, when people say Canberra, that there is what I think of. The fishbowl canopy, that's what I think of as a Canberra. I've seen some sprue shots of it, and it looks really nice. But then again, the Canberra, if you look at it, really, it's such a simple aeroplane. It's a cigar tube with planks.
Yep.
It's which makes you wonder how so many manufacturers have got it so wrong in the past. But yes, I think it'll do. They've released a lot of variants of this so far, haven't they? Under various AMP, S&M, and other names. They've released numerous variants of this, including the T17 and stuff like that. So, I think it'll do. It's nice that with S&M having gone now because of the death of the proprietor. It's good that these are being continued, if you like. Under new management.
Well, there's that saying that I do believe I created, the saying that old kits never die; they just reappear in other boxes.
Yes.
So, and people do like Canberras. So it's a subject matter that I'm a bit meh about, but just because we're going to come to something in a minute where there was a certain amount of but what about me? But in this instance, it's a beautiful looking subject. It's just one of those airplanes, oddly, like so many kind of post-war British jets. Sometimes I'm just a bit kind of like, not overly bothered by them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. For me, part of my love of things like the Canberra and the Hunter is just the sheer number of them that always used to be flying around Yeovil because of Yeovilton, because of Fraby, basically Yeovilton. And Hunters and Canberras were just part of growing up for me. They were, they were so common. You basically glanced up and then kind of went, oh yeah, and went back to your business. you know, and it's the same with all the Wessex and the Sea Kings that always used to be around that here. And you just used to glance up and then go back to what you're doing. And now we've got people, you know, historic helicopters bringing their Sea Kings out to Yeovil and their Wessex out to Yeovil quite frequently and flying around Westland Airfield where I work. And you're kind of like, oh my word, it's, you know, it's a Wessex. My God, I haven't seen one of those for years. And so you kind of, when you see these things now, you pay attention very closely. So yeah, I mean, Dave's right. You're never going to run out of interesting schemes for Canberras.
No, absolutely. I think you have a quick look through the model decal range to see how well it was covered back then.
Yeah.
I must admit, I'm trying to think of a Canberra scheme I do like, and it's the, oh goodness me, I'm trying to think what the version is now. It's the one with the big blobby nose on it.
Well, the T17 with the big the ECM one.
Yes, the ECM one.
Yeah,
I like that one. But it just shows you how interested I am in the Canberra. That apart from the PR9, I don't PR9, BI8, and the B2. I have absolutely no idea about Canberra variants.
Sorry, I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a B2 and a B6.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just anyway. So yeah, he's upset the Canberra fans again. Good Lord. Right. Okay. So let's move on.
Yeah, having established John's complete ambivalence to British aircraft history.
I'm sorry. I just this. I'm going to get myself into deep water here now. But this,
move on.
This no. It's this kind of like thing about, you know, it's a bit like the Beatles, that if you don't like Hawker Hunters, there's something wrong with you. I quite like some Hawker Hunter schemes, but I don't get this kind of slavish kind of adoration that I don't get it. Sorry, Hunter fans and Canberra fans. You know, Harriers, yes, I get Harriers are brilliant. You know, I love Harriers and Hawks, but Hunters, just not my thing. Sorry. This is the last of the present series.
I should move on while we've still got some viewers.
Yes. No. Jim Aldecott actually says, call it up here actually. I say I like the American version of the B-57. Yeah, got to say, Jim, I do like the big fat winged ones that NASA flew. What's that? The RB-57,
WB-57.
Yeah, that's a monster. That is. And Douglas Hunter says, "Hey, stop it! Who doesn't love Hunters taking this personally?" Now, of course, there is a slight element of tongue-in-cheek here, but yeah, and actually, yeah, Dave Fleming says, "Bring up last week's show. A lot of Hunter mania was driven by Mike McAvoy." No, absolutely no. I do understand people's love for the aeroplane. I'm just being a little bit mischievous at Christmas. So, and Craig says, "Plenty of RNZAF Canberra options." Well, funny you say that, because one of the Canberra schemes I do like are the Rhodesian ones in dark earth and dark green wraparound camouflage with the sea rounder with the Asagi on it.
Yeah,
that's a nice scheme. And in fact, they did fly some Hunters in those schemes as well.
They did indeed.
Yeah. And all right, forget that. I like them. I like Canberras. I like Hunters. They're all up in the gallery nodding now. It's all good.
And vampires.
Yes. See, I like vampires. I do like vampires. Anyway, Roden have announced a 1/35th scale. This is a Ford V8/G81A, and this was apparently an American, obviously a Ford. This was licensed, built in Germany, and then was used considerably during the Second World War. And Roden give you plenty of color schemes for this one. He said, all grey or black, but different service arms as well. It's one of those things that, being it's a car model, but one that you'd hope will entice military modelers and people who don't build cars. I know we sometimes there is this kind of, not a split, but there are people who say, well, I'm not interested in building cars, but I build military. Well, here is a car that kind of crosses, the divide, really. It's one that you don't have to get like a high gloss finish on. You can slap a bit of, Dunkel
German
growl
grey.
on it and weather it, and there you go. Treat it like a tank. But Roden have put up some sprue shots of it.
That's an unusual body, isn't it?
I'm going to say that's going to be interesting, getting rid of the seams on that. That. But it looks it looks efficient. Let's put it that way. It doesn't look overly complicated.
I mean, in many ways, that kind of that apparent breakdown there just kind of reinforces my, I must say, I'm going to use the word again, ambivalence to Roden in general. I tend to find them very, very much second tier, if you like. Whereas they're near peers, if you like, Zvezda, ICM, people like that have just pulled streets ahead of them recently. And the people who are behind them, like Modelsvit and A Model, once upon a time have pulled streets ahead as well. And I don't really think Roden are kind of struggling to keep up. They feel more limited run these days. But I'll wait and see the reviews and see a few builds of it.
Having had a look at those sprue shots again, and then had a look at the little CAD render here, I'll take that back actually, because where they've split that body in half and you've got that seam running across the roof, that's pretty much it. Because if you look at the sprue shots there, you've not, the bonnet is separate, the boot is separate, so essentially you've just got a seam running across the top of the roof and then two tiny little ones above and below the boot. So actually, no, I don't think that is going to be not problematic. I don't think that is going to be an issue. I think at worst you're probably going to use a bit of black super glue just to really kind of get a good clean fill on there. But yeah, I'll take that back. I don't see that as an issue. I think you just got to go in with Roden kits, go in there with the understanding that they're not quite A-tier kits these days, but neither are they kind of horrible, kind of like limited run things either. So
no, they're certainly, they're mass production items, but they just feel a bit more limited run in their execution generally. Far from unbuildable, it's just that there's so much there's so much absolutely amazing stuff about these days that they feel a little bit left behind, if you like.
I think you're right. It is a kind of an indicator, if you pardon the pun, of just how far ahead some of these companies have gone in recent times. How they've really kind of like forged ahead and pushed their own quality threshold upwards.
Yeah, I mean, 15 years ago, ICM and Roden were, to me, pretty much interchangeable in terms of molding technology and quality. They're not now.
No,
they're not now. But like I say, it's not. I'm sure it'll be eminently buildable. It's going to require a bit more of the modeler. That's all. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't excite me. Put it that way. Knowing something, however exciting I find a subject, knowing the manufacturer can often temper that excitement, shall we say?
Well, let's see whether the subject and the manufacturer excites you next, because this certainly caused some interesting reactions this week. I think it's the diplomatic way of putting it, and this is Amusing Hobby. And they announced he's giggling already. Here they announced a 1/48 scale Messerschmitt 262 HG3. Now this was an unproduced paper project, kind of like next gen Messerschmitt 262. A fabulous artwork. Let's start off. I mean, that is beautiful, isn't it? That is.
Yeah, it's a great piece of artwork. And I don't build Luftwaffe 46. We discussed this. I don't build Luftwaffe 46. for me, that is given the pace that they were developing stuff at the end of the war. That's more Luftwaffe July 45.
Yes.
That would have been the next iteration of the Messerschmitt 262. And in that light, I'm really rather attracted to the idea of building one of them, because it's close enough to, it's not like the Triebflügel and stuff like that, where it's they're just ridiculous back of a fag paper concepts that never even got past that stage. This feels like, given a few more months, that would have probably flown.
It does look fabulous, doesn't it?
Because it's not terribly different from a 262. That's the thing. It's not one of those. Yeah. It's not a far-reaching development. They've moved the engines inboard and swept the surfaces. That's not a huge leap, given where they were in terms of, it's like some of the if you like the swept wing variants of the Heinkel 162.
Yes.
They were close to probably being, designs that would have got made, if you like.
But it's not
rivet detail on that as well, is there?
Sorry,
looks like there's rivet detail on the wings.
There is rivet detail on it. It's also, when you're talking about swept wing aircraft, I mean, it's not that far removed from the Messerschmitt Comet as well. So
no, and it's like the ME 263, the next version of the Comet.
Yeah.
I could see myself, being attracted to building that, because again, it's not an improbable leap.
No,
shall we say?
No. It also, if these are all the bits to the kit, and it does look like these are all the bits, apart from obviously the clear parts, rather ambitious the way they've molded the wings and the fuselage together, which does mean you've taken care of a lot of tricky little seams there. They have done the rear fuselage as separate, so how that all clicks together, we will have to wait and see. But looking at this, I think it's just 2 sprues. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's looking like that's a 2 or 3 day model, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. I'm just having another look there. I'm just having a quick look. Yep, there's the undercarriage legs top left. There's the nose gear. There's the engine bits. There's the cockpit. I can see the instrument panel, other bits and pieces. And then that sprue is the intakes, the wheels.
You can see at least 3 different bulkheads, so they're going to build up the wheel wells and stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, that's almost kind of like that's almost simpler in many ways to a lot of 72nd scale 262s. But you're right, there is some rivet detail. I can see the rivet detail on there. But yeah, whether or not this is your thing is, that it's just one of those things. There was some interesting reaction to this, I think, is the the diplomatic way of putting it. It's just a box of plastic. I don't understand why people were getting so bent out of shape over. It doesn't interest them, fine, but it doesn't mean just because it doesn't interest a model.
Yeah, wait 5 minutes, something will be along that does interest you.
Well, yeah, as I said, if only there were other models and manufacturers being out there at the moment. We are living in an era of, as I say, go downstairs, put the kettle on, come back, and suddenly not only is a new model company started up, but there's also, another half a dozen kits have been announced. There is room in the market for people to do things like this, and if it's not your cup of tea, don't throw your toys out of the pram over it.
Absolutely nothing in the market has been bumped to make room for this.
No.
Exactly. And the other thing is, I really like that. That is a probable scheme as well. It's literally how a lot of Messerschmitt 262s were painted. So it's not a terrible leap to it's probabilities that I like, and that's that's well within the realms of possibility
and also the 262 does have that beautiful kind of shark-like menace to it, doesn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah, it's
Very.
Even as a kid building the old Airfix one in the dogfight double with the Mosquito. You know, I just remember building that and thinking that's a devilishly handsome aeroplane.
And the other thing was, flown well, it was absolutely lethal because it had four 30mm cannons.
Mm.
You know, that is 1 or 2 hits on even a large bomber to bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so employed well by an experienced pilot, of which obviously Luftwaffe was, you know, had very few by that point. But it was absolutely lethal.
Mm-hmm.
And this would have been just, you know, more so.
Well, I think it's fair to say that in this instance, with this kit, we are most amused.
Indeed, I did. And yeah, I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, top quality stuff here. I'd also like to say thank you to Spencer, who sent me a copy of his legacy book, which I did carefully prise open the plastic cover just to see how many times my name was mentioned in it. So thank you, Spencer. It's very kind of you. You're so vain, you probably think this song is about you. Absolutely.
You can't really talk about getting your name mentioned in a book you contributed to, can you? I think that's a bit of a...
Oh, it's a sore point. I know. Mike Reeves says, funny you say that. Those are the same guys who whinge that there is another one, but not the kit they want. Well, as I say, we try and be positive, and we try and we try and balance things out. And then yeah, there's room out there for this subject matter, and it's not, as Drew said, it's not like a really important subject has been bounced to make this. And also, the thing you've got to bear in mind is, I know some people don't like these Luftwaffe 46 kits. Some people don't like stuff that goes into the realms of what if, you know, etc., etc. But if it's engaging people, if it's actually making them want to pick up a kit and make it and build it and do what they want with it, I don't see what's wrong with that. Nobody's forcing anybody else to build it or buy it or make it. So what's the problem?
And given the sheer preponderance of releases these days, like I say, if they haven't done your subject yet, just wait 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think you know, when we're in an era where we're getting Lafley V15, you know, comedy tractors and things like that, or we're getting Lands Bulldogs, or we're getting that beautiful little 3-wheel tut from Mini Art and things like that. It's just
as major releases, not as limited run kits.
No. You got to ask the question, Drew. What are people waiting for these days, really, in the scheme of things?
I mean, I'm always waiting for a new F-16, I suppose, but
anyway, right. Let's move on. Yes. What can we say? Our trip to Glastonbury yesterday. Yes, of course, there was that.
There was.
That was better than the mince pie. That was a mince and almond tart. And oh goodness me, what did you have again? You had the.
I had the apple cake.
You had the apple cake, yes.
The warm apple cake with clotted cream. There was lots of cinnamon and other spices in it. It was really rather delicious, I have to say. That was a very nice little meal. That was a very nice lunch. It was a very nice lunch.
It was very
nice. And the tea was good.
The tea was excellent. And for those of you who don't know Glastonbury is just absolutely lovely. I think I described it as Walt Disney's Ye Old West Country. It can be a little bit like that sometimes.
I just call it the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, but actually, we were there. We were literally just down there in the far left of the picture there, the Abbey tea rooms, right opposite Glastonbury Abbey. But for a little Somerset town at this time of year, it's glorious. I love it down there. It's just
it's a wonderful, wonderful town.
Yeah,
It's
and
a wonderful
actually,
time.
given the number of places we've popped up in down the decades, it's the first time you and I have actually been in Glastonbury
Yeah,
at the same time together.
it's
So
a wonderful, wonderful town, and it's got a model shop. Did we mention that?
a model shop, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. So let's just play catch up on the comments. Pavel says, I'm just going to keep calling him Pavel. Sorry, Pavel. I'm at the point where I have so many kits in my stash that I'm actually glad when companies release something I don't feel the temptation to buy. Yes, that's a very good point. And
Yeah.
I'm just Mike Reeves says, I bought quite a few model art cars amongst other things of late while at Andy's Hobby HQ warehouse in the last week. Yeah. Just going through the comments. I'm just playing catch up here. Yeah, Mike Williams, we're talking about hunters and things. Mike Williams makes a good point. The hunter was a Spitfire of the jet age. Yeah, no, absolutely. I am being a little bit mischievous when I say I don't find the hunter that interesting. I'm just, like most things on this show, don't take it at face value. Apart from the cake, take that very seriously. We'll be flippant about the models, but we'll be very serious about the cake.
We don't joke, but there's no joking where cake's concerned.
There's absolutely no joking where cake's concerned. In fact, I haven't even had any today, would you believe? But I did pop into Burns the Bread up that Glastonbury High Street.
Oh, yeah.
I did pick up some Viennese whirl mince pies.
Very nice.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, and where are you up to at the moment with your Peppa Pig advent calendar?
I haven't started yet.
Good grief. Good grief. Unbelievable.
I haven't started yet.
Unbelievable. Really. Yeah, I forgot to have one of my advent teas last night, so I'm playing catch up on number 11, but I'll have 12 straight after the show's finished. So Gary Powell says, I'm predominantly a car modeler, but the quality of some of the recent mini art kits, such as the B-type bus and the Merc 170s, enticed me to 135th scale, which is not a scale I would normally look at. Well, that's the that is always the lure of mini art, though, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. You can't kind of like not look at the mini art range and just suddenly want a box of pigeons or musical instruments or something like that. So Dave Mummery says you're saving it all for Christmas Eve, aren't you, Drew? Yeah, he's suddenly gonna have like a massive kind of like Peppa Pig out.
Yeah, I've eaten 24 pigs today.
Nothing new there. So on that note, any other business? Let's just get the ting. Any other business?
No, I'm English and I hate cake. No, you're not English then. You think you're English. Outrageous.
Sean says I'm English and hate cake. Yeah, well, there's no we take everybody on this show, really.
Even the wrong uns.
Even the wrong uns, exactly. Yeah. No. Any other business then? All right, fine, okay.
No, we were going to cover subjects. What are we building?
All right. Well, I can do. So what you've got some models to build there, haven't you? You've got some new models.
Well, yes, but I'm sort of let me illuminate and so yeah, this is the Tamiya Tomcat in the carrier launch setup, and if anybody's been following me on my modeling page this week, you'll know how taken I am with Tamiya's Tomcat overall, and it's worth saying that on this model, as it sits at the moment, the only pieces that aren't held in place by friction are the leading edge slats on this at the moment. There you go. All the flaps are falling off, so they just have been assembled and they just slide into the wings absolutely perfectly like that. The only reason the slats aren't held in by friction is because they are attached to a large bed here, which locates the angle absolutely perfectly of the slats. And it's just, if I give you a quick demonstration, the wings will pop out like so. Tails pop off. That nose will just slide off like so. and all this lot comes apart as well. Look, because and then the top fuselage comes off. You've got this massive spar here for locating the wings on for strength, and then these intake. The most amazing bit is Tomcats generally have terribly fitting intakes, and these just friction. You know, I've spent the last couple of days painting all that, and like I say, the thing is, they just locate down in like so and fit absolutely perfectly.
Do you know, I'm just going to chime in here, Drew. The only bit of, I built that Tomcat kit. I built it 4 years ago when the first one came out. I have absolutely got, folks, if you think I'm ambivalent towards Canberras and Hunters, you ain't seen nothing when compared to my ambivalence towards the Tomcat. I've got to say, it was one of the most incredible models I've ever built. But the only bit of that model that caused me, I wouldn't say problems, but it was the only thing that I had to really kind of take care of and had to exercise a modicum of care, was actually the slide mold seam around the rear fuselage.
Yeah.
Which so many people have built that kit and they've not realised, they've not picked up on that little faint, just like a little faint mold part line, which is already in place that you just have to carefully get rid of. That's it. Everything else, the intake, as you say, the intakes, they snap into place. The nose, what was your favourite thing that you used to do, which is, look, I haven't actually glued the entire nose in place. It just clips on and clips off again. The wings, as what you've done there, you've made them so you can push them into place afterwards.
Well, that's how it works, and that's just the way the kit is.
Oh yes, it is. Yes, I remember now. Yeah.
But the thing is, with these, they've done. This is obviously the carrier launch setup. So it's got the deployed slats and flaps. Now, I'm not a big fan of the slats and flaps deployed on a Tomcat. It's something you very rarely see them in that condition. However, just the way they've reproduced this with the sections, the spring-loaded sections that close up, flaps open, the flap betas are accurately represented to the Tomcat's flaps actually come back on a sort of a cam system, so they rotate backwards and down rather than just down. They're not slotted, but that's the way they work. And obviously, they just completely perfectly. No other manufacturer that I'm aware of. I don't know if AMK got it, but Hasegawa certainly never did on their 48 scale kit or 72nd. Fujimi never got it on their 72nd scale kit. But you can see that considerable gap there where it droops.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just got that, absolutely correct. And what they've done is, rather than have these slats where they just mount onto, slat guides, this area here, this detail area here at the front is a large recessed flat piece. And the slats come with the matching flat piece molded onto them when you've assembled it. And that just pops in there like so. And as long as you've got that flat in there, the actual angle of the slats is just completely and utterly perfect as well. It's just, it's like we say, it's a step above anybody else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of modeling. It's just.
Greg Woodbridge says, best 48 scale kit ever, bar none. I've built 9 so far.
Yeah, this is my third, Greg. This is my third. So you're ahead of me. But I would agree, in terms of 48 scale kits, it's certainly the nicest 48 scale kit I've ever built. Mike says the F4B is even better if that's actually possible. Mike, yesterday was the first time I'd even seen the box for that model. Never mind, had a look inside it. So I haven't had the pleasure yet of the F4B. Hopefully sometime soon.
Yeah, don't worry, we're working on it.
But I mean, certainly they Tamiya have just made a difficult shape incredibly easy to build.
Mm.
Just absolutely, and it's things like this. This wing spar here that goes in, and there's kind of a collection of screws and things to hold it in place, and it makes the entire center section of this model as strong as a real Tomcat, basically. Which, if people haven't heard of it, there's a set of podcasts going out at the moment called Tomcast. And it's a F-14 Pilot and F-14 Rio, and they're planning just 26 podcasts over the next year, one every other week, on one facet of the Tomcat's development, operation, things like that. So far they've discussed the weapon system, the flight characteristics. They've had an Iranian pilot on discussing his time on the Tomcat. They managed to get in touch, something you never thought you would they'd be able to do is get an Iranian pilot to talk to. And they managed to get an Iranian pilot on and spent an hour talking to him about his time on the Tomcat in Iran in the early 90s and stuff like that. So it's if anybody, just go on any of the any podcast provider, Spotify, they're all on there. YouTube have got it as well. And there's some deeply hilarious stories and very, very interesting people on it. If you love the Tomcat as much as I do, it's well worth your time. And they said it's a fixed. They're planning 26 episodes over the next year, one every other week, and then that's it. So
are they going to cover? Are they going to cover time travel and how easy it is to splash zeros?
They did that last week.
Oh.
They had, one of the pilots who did an awful lot of the flying for the final countdown. They had him on discussing the entire his involvement in the filming of the final countdown. And I can see you going, oh, yeah, it's as interesting as you think it'll be.
Right. Okay. I'm in.
But the whole thing, John, they're about an hour and a bit long each. You just have them on in the background, but they're just, you just end up with a whole new appreciation, both for the aircraft and for the guys who operated it.
Yeah.
Just a phenomenal airplane, and just a brilliant set of podcasts, genuinely worth people's time.
We've got a comment here from Peter Adshead who says F4B 7495 at Jadlam. Maybe I'll drive there tomorrow morning. I shouldn't, considering how many F4 Phantoms there are here in my hobby room. I think we should start being on commission, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think I have to mention here that Pete Adshead and I go back a very, very long way, sort of 35 years.
Oh dear, he has my commiserations then.
And the reason I first got into airbrushing was a direct result of seeing some of Pete's work.
Okay.
Back in the day, I remember his F5E, Italeri F5E that he rescribed, and also a Fujimi Phantom that he freehand airbrushed the RAF camouflage on. And I went, this was about 1987, 88, and I went, I want some of that. I got to get on board with that. And yes. So thanks, Pete. Thanks, Pete. The reason I now own 9 airbrushes is your fault.
I was just going to say, ting any other business. I am going to find out what those Fengder airbrush nozzle sizes are, so apologies. I've been prevaricating about that. I'm going to do that this evening. Just on a quick note, I've actually managed to watch Tora twice in the last week, in as much as I saw the last half of it. I caught the last half of it on telly beginning of the week, and then this evening it was on again, so I caught the first half of it again. I've got it on DVD. You and I have watched it at my place on DVD before. I've got to say, even though it got a pretty poor response when it came out in 1970, and it didn't do very well at the box office, I still think it is a very good film, in as much as it doesn't mess around. It just gets on with the story. It gets on with the timeline of events, the characters. And also, because it was a joint American-Japanese production, and for the most part, the Japanese segments were shot by shot by Shinji Fukusuku, who a director, genre director, who directed a film I love called The Green Slime, and the way it's put together, it's very even-handed, and if anything, it paints a damning picture of everything that went wrong politically and militarily within the American command structure. Silly little things that happened that just pushed everything up. Yes, it was a massive act of duplicity by Imperial Japan, but also it is I think it's a fantastic film for playing both sides evenly without having good guys and bad guys, if you see what I mean. Much like Clint Eastwood's Flags of Our Fathers, that tells the same conflict from the two different sides.
They are a phenomenal pair of films watched back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those Flags of Our Fathers films. They're not easy watching.
No.
But they're phenomenal films because you can actually tie up a lot of what goes on from two different perspectives into the two films.
Yep.
And they're a phenomenal couple of films. I must watch them again, actually. But
the other thing is, I'm really quite surprised that I've tried to research this. I'm really quite surprised no stuntmen were killed during the making of Toro, because there are some incredibly dangerous stunt scenes in that film, including when some of the fake P-40s are getting blown up. There's literally a propeller boss goes shooting off towards some guys who are like running away from it, and it's clearly the stunt went wrong, but just the
stunt went wrong, but they left it in.
Well, actually, there is in the film when the B-17 comes in and it lands on one wheel. Apparently, that was a genuine accident, and the only camera running at the time was like a 16mm camera that caught it, and that's why that footage suddenly goes very kind of grainy, almost looks like stock footage. But and the thing, I do know that a lot of the airplanes are Harvards, and they're all kind of like, and the carriers aren't quite right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I still watch it over Pearl Harbor any day. I watch paint drying over Pearl Harbor any day.
It's funny because he said the guy who was talking about the final countdown on the Tomcast, he said that all the converted T6s and stuff they use in the final countdown were the same aircraft that we use in Tora. They didn't. It wasn't just the same. It wasn't just the same. Sort of design mod. They were the same aircraft. Yeah. Very, very much worthwhile giving it a listen.
I will tune into that this evening, actually. So, anyway, look, we've overshot here a little bit. But never mind. We overshot tonight because we had a few technical gremlins. But David Mummery says I'd rather watch paint dry than Pearl Harbor. Perhaps we'll do that one night. We'll just put a webcam up for 2.5 hours of just some paint drying and give the people what they want.
I was going to say I've studiously avoided seeing Pearl Harbor for 20 years, and it's got Kate Beckinsale in it. That's for me to not watch a film that's got Kate Beckinsale in it.
Yeah, I watched it once, and really wish I hadn't. It's just terrible. Really, it's a horrible film. It really is. Anyway. On that note, it just remains to say thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. Like I say, apologies for a few technical issues tonight, but hey ho. Right, actually, we won't be back next Sunday. This is news to you, Drew. We won't be back next Sunday for two reasons. One is next Sunday is BBC Radio
Wednesday?
3. Sorry?
What about Wednesday?
Well, Wednesday, yeah, we're back Wednesday. Yeah, I'm just saying. Tuesday, next Sunday rather, there's a thing on Radio 3 with the European Broadcasting Union, and they do a whole day of concerts around Europe, which I tune into every year. And it's fantastic because it takes you to different cultures and traditions around Europe, and I ain't missing that for anything. So I'm sorry, folks, there ain't going to be a show. Also, next Sunday night is also BBC Sports Personality of the Year, which I know half of you are now all switching off, boring, but again, I watch that religiously every year. So sorry, folks, no show next Sunday.
Okay, forewarned is forearmed.
Forearmed. Well, we might do one on Saturday. We could always do one on Saturday night, or you know, or what.
But anyway, we got Wednesday yet, so
we got Wednesday, yeah, and we will be doing. Hopefully, we'll try and get Spencer back on the show, because we will do. We will have one which is going to be a quiz night and all kinds of jolly japes. So that really will be our Christmas, our end of year Christmas party one. So yeah, that should be fun.
The Christmas bash.
Yeah, the Christmas bash. But it'll be a party, but obviously it won't be a party. It'll be a gathering. So just so we're clear on that.
Righto.
Okay. On that note, I just say
we wouldn't want to offend anybody in government, would we?
Just say thank you to Drew. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in twice tonight. As always, stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So bye for now.
Take it easy, all.